Hey Matt, how you doing?
Tiger, I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. So I wanted to mention a really cool event that you and I went to about 2 weeks ago, the Hall of Fame induction at the St. Paul's School.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
Super classy. We
Yeah,
were there for our good friend, the late Eric Smith, who went in for being a multi-sport athlete in high school.
that's right.
And it got me thinking about multi-sport athletes.
Okay.
First, I want to mention his wife, Missy, gave a great speech.
Unbelievable.
I
Stood
think
up
one
and
of the
rocked it.
coolest things was how many friends and family he had there, uh, including not only his high school friends, but also a lot of his college friends who were in the area came. So that
Yep,
was super cool.
absolutely.
Now, on to the multi-sport athletes. Okay. Ultimately, I think sometime we might have like a panel discussion where we discuss that topic. But I was recently watching a video where Deion Sanders was asked, who played professional football, professional baseball, was amazing, was asked who was the greatest multi-sport athlete he knew.
Okay.
Okay.
And what did he say?
He said number two was Bo Jackson. Number one was his
Andrew Bing?
no, was
Oh,
was his cousin Junebug.
Junebug Sanders.
So Junebug, I don't know if they had the same last name, but Junebug was a crack addict. And when Dion would come home from college, Junebug would steal stuff from his grandmother's house, and Dion would be sent out to chase down Junebug. And he said he was the most athletic guy he ever saw, and he was never able to catch him.
Do you think that's only because he was on crack, or do you think like a clean and sober Junebug would have been faster than Dion? I'm thinking no.
I think Dion. Well, sometimes you think like your older relatives are like superheroes, but I think Dion really thought Junebug could have had what it took.
Just
But
because of you and Peter Smith
here, here is my argument. Okay,
about
in
pro
discussing
crack or
multi-sport
against crack. Okay.
multi-sport athletes, that my cousin Eric Smith is a better athlete than Junebug. Okay. I'm
Okay.
going to be looking down at my notes because this is important that I prove this point. Okay. So I already mentioned that Eric played football in high school where he was, I believe, the starting running back.
Yep.
He played lacrosse at St. Paul's and then at Cornell. So everybody thinks of him as a lacrosse player. I personally think maybe his best sport was wrestling,
Yep.
where he ranked second and basically kind of like the equivalent of the private school state tournament and fourth in the national prep tournament. Okay. So great wrestler. All right. And you're like, okay, that's three sports, whatever. I'm going deeper than that. So
Oh,
let's
I knew you
start
would.
with his first best sport. He was an
Unicycling?
excellent swimmer.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought you were unicycling.
No, he was the river champion several times in his age. He was also a good diver. And because he was such a good swimmer and a good athlete, he was a great water polo player. Okay. Now, I get it. The reason he's so much better than other people at water polo is because not many good swimmers are also good athletes. So Eric had that combined. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go. This is my
Okay.
gift to you.
He ran cross country in high school his freshman year before he played football. He
Yep.
was a good runner. Let's not forget he could lift weights. He could
Oh
do
yeah.
P90X with the best of them.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so that might set him up a little higher. Now, let's get into water sports. This is where he separates himself from Junebug. Not just swimming and water polo, he was a great water skier, a good wakeboarder, a great hydro slider, a
Yep.
great jet skier, an excellent body surfer, a
Good body
great
surfer.
boogie boarder.
Yep.
Okay. He is the brother of Peter Smith, one of the greatest paddleboarders we know. So obviously he could paddleboard,
Oh
right?
yeah. No, I've paddleboarded with Eric. He was a fine paddleboarder.
He was always ranked number one or two in the country at underwater judo, which is a sport that we made up where basically it's a full-fledged, full contact wrestling match in about 3 to 4 feet of water.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So now we get into winter sports. Really good snow skier. He could go down the bumps like nobody's business, and he literally probably skied once, at most twice a year. He was great at snowball fighting.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was.
He was also great at throwing snowballs at cars. So
Oh,
we used
that's
to
what I
get
mean.
on the
Yeah.
hill, throw him down at the car with the dream that then the guy would get out so mad that he'd try to run up the hill and we could hit him. We
Right.
never got the dream shot, but it was something
It was
we worked
there.
hard at.
Yep.
Okay. He was really good at ice hockey, like on the
Yep.
pond.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you probably didn't know this. Great at air hockey. So ice hockey and air hockey. Okay.
And console hockey is what Missy said also.
Yes. And foosball. Okay.
How about his shuffleboard game?
So now we're getting into racket sports. Great at badminton. Trained his daughters, who I believe might have been like state champion badminton players.
Sure.
Okay. Their teams won.
Yep.
Okay. We know he was decent at tennis, even though he really didn't like tennis.
He hated tennis.
Okay. He was good at squash, I assume. He played with your brother, and your brother's really good.
I played with me.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that he was also really good at pickup basketball.
Yep.
He was okay at soccer. He could play softball, which makes me assume he could play baseball. And now this is where I'm really getting into it. Golf, very good. So that means he's good at miniature golf. Shooting sports, archery, and skeet shooting. Okay? We're talking about a complete athlete here. He crushed me in cornhole. He could crush you in horseshoes. And he was good at that ring game where you try to get the ring.
The tavern, yep.
Despite a serious injury, he was great at quarters.
That injury almost took him out. Thank God for your father.
He was good at pinball.
Yep.
Very solid at Atari. Okay? But this is what seriously puts him ahead of Junebug. He was an excellent skateboarder to the point that he built a half pipe in his backyard. Okay? Probably the best BMX racer in Sherwood Forest. I knew.
Okay.
That I knew. And then we get into the circus sports. He could ride a unicycle and a 6-foot unicycle. So I don't think Bo Jackson can ride a 6-foot unicycle.
Well, on behalf of Junebug and Bo Jackson, you don't know this, right? We've never seen them try that. And
well, my point is that this is not a, hey, we're giving Deion Sander 6 months to train at water polo. This is like you have to get out of bed and perform. And you're basically pulling a number out of a hat. And today it's pinball. Tomorrow it's 6-foot unicycle. The next day it's wrestling. I am taking Eric over Junebug, over Deion, over Bo. I'm taking him over the late Jim Thorpe if we are adding all those extra sports, including the winter sports, the swimming sports, and the circus sports.
Well, all right, you put the circus sports in there, sure. But let's go back to Eric swimming, okay? He's swimming against me, Klepper, and Chuck, okay? Not Michael Phelps level, okay? He was a fine swimmer, all right? Let's be real clear about that, okay? He was a decent sailor. I saw him canoe a couple times. I wasn't impressed, but he did fine. So let's be real careful about that. But yeah, everything else, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
So that's like 30 events. So I know people talk about the decathlon, but and I know that you're probably a little bit jealous, but I'm going to design a decathlon where only you can win.
Oh, that'd be great.
Like a golf / running / hot yoga event, Twizzler eating,
In. I love it. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. So that's my thing. Eric versus Junebug. I take Eric.
That's hard to beat.
Tonight we are interviewing probably the greatest shot since Martin Riggs, the one and only Dan Baird.
ODB himself.
This could go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So he's in the green room. Here's Dan Baird.
Everybody, put your hands together for the one, the only, Dr. Hugh House. His sidekick, Matt, who doesn't get to say much, and their guest tonight, ODB. Not Old Dirty Bastard from Wu-Tang Clan, Old Dan Baird. Dan Baird is in the house tonight. Dan Baird is a legend on so many different levels. I've known Danny, longer than I've known Ty. I've known Danny so long, he used to wear shoes when I first got to know him. Danny, he's got a lot of names. I mean, I've always heard the one I've always liked the most is Joanna's Favorite. I don't know what that means. But
it doesn't get said a lot.
It does.
Yeah, use that.
In certain circles. Dan Baird is here with us, and we have a lot to talk about, a lot to uncover. Dan, thank you for joining us, and thanks, dude. Hey, Dan, thanks for being you.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
Yeah.
What a treat.
It is. And Ty's got so many questions to begin with. Yes.
Can I interrupt? We said we were going to start off asking him about the greatest shot ever, and that Tom Ripley basically says he is the best shot since Martin Riggs. And I want to hear about this shot. Like Tom just mentioned that he was the greatest shot ever, and I have hunted with Dan, and he's an amazing shot. But I feel like he's better telling stories in the blind than he is shooting. Not saying he's not a good shot, but I want to know about this shot.
To be fair, this shot was recently brought up on our episode with Tom Ripley. I think we were talking about unathletic guys and how they still add value to the community. Here, let's take a listen.
Dan, I'll take Dan in all the shooting sports. He's a first round draft pick. Quite a good shot with a shotgun. It has the longest range elk kill from the guide service that we've killed an elk at 453 yards, which is unbelievable with a muzzle loader. Like unbelievable. Like 200 yards is a long shot with a muzzle loader. He killed one at 453, which is just kind of head scratching.
But did you have to carry the elk back for him?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so does it even count?
Come on, like details. Who needs the details in the story? Let's lay off the details. All right. The elk is in my freezer. We'll leave it at that. All right.
I thought you were going to lead that in with 8, maybe 10 guys could make that shot. It's the only thing he's ever been good at.
Well, no, he's good at the drinking sports as well. He's quite
solid.
good at the.
So before we get into anything, we need to introduce him. So people are like, why do I need to listen to Dan Baird? Well, you need to listen to him because he's made the best shot in the history of hunting.
On Tom Ripley's scale. That's something.
Yeah. But does that mean the shot he took when he asked Leslie out? That's the shot.
That was the shot heard around the world. Exactly.
That's the one. But yes, Dan, tell us about the shot. I think we're going to play a quick clip here as Ty takes a drink and doesn't spit it out his nose. What Mr. Ripley complimented you on. You guys were elk hunting, and you shot a harmless little defenseless elk. It was with his mother, I think, and like 5 kids, and just minding some business, and you killed it, right? I'm sorry. You tell a story.
No, you were telling it fine. This comes back. Ty and I were talking about this. I am the luckiest guy ever. I mean, I'm blessed in everything I've done in my life, as you guys are, family, all the great blessings we have. But I am downright lucky. And a couple of examples. I'm the worst golfer on this podcast, even listening to this podcast. But I have a hole-in-one. And at Matthew's bachelor party, I got a double eagle. So the stats on a double eagle are 1 in 12,000 people get a hole-in-one. 1 in 3 million have a double eagle. And I'm a horrible golfer. Like my hole-in-one was on number 1 in Sherwood. I've played that hole 500 times. I've landed the ball on the green twice, and one of them went in the cup. That's lucky.
That's skill. That's just you're paying your dues.
Yeah. I went deep sea fishing 2 years ago with a bunch of my analysts. I'm not a fisherman. I don't know how to fish. I don't know what I'm doing. We all threw our lines out. They all brought tuna in. I brought in a 9-foot striped marlin. Me. I didn't know what I was doing. Why? Because I'm lucky. Hunting on my farm growing up.
Isn't luck when preparation meets opportunity, though? Like,
no,
you've been putting in the work?
You're seeing me hit the golf ball, Tiger. That's lucky. There's no other explanation. I took the largest deer on our farm growing up. I only shot one, but God sent me. I'm not saying God's responsible, because God doesn't love me any more than Matt, no matter what my mom says.
I don't know.
But I shot the largest deer ever shot on that farm. Why did that deer come in front of me? It was a great shot, but it was lucky, right? So this kind of plays into that streak, if you will. So I go hunting with Ripley lines a hunt up with his brothers. Ripley can't go, either business or he was using his tag in another season. I still don't know what the deal was there. So I go out to New Mexico with these 2 guys. We're doing a thing, we're elk hunting, but we're doing it with primitive weapons. So you have a rifle that is a muzzle loader, right? You're pouring the powder into the gun, putting the shot in, putting the charge in. You pull the trigger, the charge lights the gunpowder, it shoots the bullet out the other end of the gun.
So like Daniel Boone Baird.
Exactly, the other DB, younger DB. So you got that, and the other thing is you can't use a scope. So as you know, when you hold a rifle, scope makes it a completely different game. I'm shooting over iron sights, and I've never done this before. So we go out the first day, and the way this works is you sight your gun in on a range at 100 yards. So I'm with John and Stephen Ripley. These guys are all, raised around guns. They've been shooting guns all their lives. I've never fired one of these things. So Stephen asks all the right questions. He gets up, knocks the middle out of the target. They take him to 200 yards, knocks the middle out of the target. He wants to change something up, so he takes a third shot, knocks the middle out of the target. John steps up, same thing. 100 yards, knocks the middle out of the target. 200 yards, knocks the middle out of the target. Said, I'm good. I'm just good. I'm like, great. So I get up. And by the way, these guns, they make a lot of noise, and they kick. And I'm used to shooting a shotgun, as you guys are. It's a different game. So I'm watching this, and just the hearing these guys shooting was not scaring the hell out of me, but scaring the hell out of me. So I get up, line the thing up at 100 yards, I'm able to hit the target. It's like a frisbee. And I go to 200 yards. I can't even see the target. It's like blurred. I end up taking the shot, and I hit it, but I couldn't see it. So my instruction to the guides was, don't give me a shot over 200 yards because I can't take it. So the next day we go out to hunt. I'm not going to tell this part of the story because it's embarrassing, but I missed 2 shots. And while we're doing this, we have a text chain, and it's the Ripley brothers and Coleman. Ooh. And they're responding to the fact that I missed a shot. Completely unacceptable in their world to miss a shot. The next day, Steven gets an elk. By the way, of all the people that shoot in this thing, about 25% of the people get an animal. So we're expecting to get maybe 1, right? Steven gets an elk the next day. Next day, John gets an elk. Now the pressure's on. I'm going out. I've got they send you out with guides. I had 2 American Indians. They lived on a reservation right near the lodge that we stayed in. And going out with these guys every day, great. Get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get back when it's dark type of thing. So it's the last night, or it's the night before the last day, and Ripley flies into town. And all of a sudden, it's a different game. Like, these guys were hunting with Gomer Pyle all week, and now they've got Patton on the hunt. And it's palpable, right? So wake up at 4 in the morning. I know Ripley's coming. Tom Ripley, I can't say Ripley because there's so many of them, but I know Tom's coming. Tom brings Steven with him. He's like, Steven's going to spot. I'm going with the guide. Like, okay, I got it. So we all go up on this mountain, 4 o'clock in the morning. Sun comes out. The spotter, Xavier, my American Indian friend, finds this bull. And they identify the bull. They say, yep, that's the one we're going to take. And it's over here. It's 2 miles away or whatever it was. These guys are amazing, by the way. They're seeing stuff that I don't even know exists. It's crazy. So Ripley takes control. Tom takes control. He goes, Steven, you're staying up here. You're on this. We're going down. We're going to go down. I'm going to go with Dan. We're going to go. He's going all the directions. All of a sudden, it's Tom's hunt. Tom is calling all the shots.
It's weird.
The guide goes, and my guide's name was Jared. Jared goes, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the end of this ridge and cut into the field. Tom says, no, the wind's blowing this way. We can't do that, or we'll be walking, the wind will be behind us. We're going to go this way, down the mountain. I'm like, oh, God. So and you guys know Tom, so this is not a surprise to you. He's like completely put together. He's got the whole outfit. He looks like $1 million. I look like a hot mess. I mean, everything I have on that's hunting gear is his, right? I've borrowed this stuff. My one job was to get the right boots. I got on clouds because I figured they were lighter and it was really well thought out. But like they were the wrong shoe. They weren't high tops. I'm falling down this mountain. Ripley's walking behind me, just shaking his head. It was horrible. So we go out. Tom's talking to Steven. Steven directs us into this bull. And Tom turns to me and goes, stay here. So it's my hunt, Tom, stay here. So Tom walks up the hill with the guide, and they look over the ridge, and they see the bull in the next valley. The bull is there to be taken. Dan Baird's going to get a bull. So Tom comes back, and maybe part of this is in my mind, but in my mind, Tom grabs my shirt, gets right up in my face, and says, Dan, don't blow this, okay? You know what to do. This is your moment. You can do this. Go get this elk. I'm like, you got it, Tom. I got this elk. It's going to be great.
So Dan, that pep talk totally lowered your cortisol level and totally got your heartbeat down, right? Like when Tom fires you up like that, like you're totally zen.
By the way, all 3 brothers are like that. They're all coaches. 2 of them are former Marines, and they're just like, we're going to do it. So he's got it, and I got this. So he lets go of my shirt, in my mind, and there's this dry riverbed in front of us. My first step is to jump across the dry riverbed. I land on the other side of the dry riverbed, and my walkie-talkie becomes disconnected from my belt and goes ricocheting down into the riverbed and goes, and I look down at this thing, and I kind of work my eyes across the riverbed back to Tom's feet and up to Tom's eyes, which were like saucers. And this little vein in my mind was popping right. He couldn't believe it. He was just like, oh my God. So we move forward, we get to the ridge, look over the ridge, the elk is gone. I've missed the elk. I don't know whether it was the radio, but there's a pretty good chance that I screwed this thing up. Everybody knows it. I know it. I'm the only guy that doesn't have an elk. There's a lot of pressure on. So the elk kind of lay down in the middle of the day. So we went back to the lodge. Tom met with a couple of the guides, and he's like, what's Dan's best chance of seeing another elk this afternoon? They said, well, this place John went yesterday, there was a herd, and we think the herd is still there, so we'll send them up there. It's like, great. So first thing that happens is my guide calls me and goes, hey, I got a problem. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, well, the place we're going, only certain trucks can get in because of the clearance for the axle. I'm like, okay. He goes, so only 3 of us can go on this hunt. I'm like, okay. He goes, so you've got to tell Tom that he can't go on this hunt with us. And I'm like, okay. So I go into Tom and I say, Tom, I told him the guide said that only 3 guys will fit in the truck, and you're not one of them. And Tom's my host. I didn't want to do this, but Tom didn't care. Tom's like, no, my brothers, we're going to celebrate their elk. We're going to go drinking this afternoon. It'll be great. You do your thing. He's like, great. I'm like, great, awesome. So I go get in the truck, and number one, there's 4 of us in the truck. There are now 2 spotters, one of which isn't Tom, and my guide and myself. And we get in this truck. We drive back into this place, get to the bottom of this hill, look up, see the herd on the hill. Great. So we're going to work our way up. Again, get into a dry riverbed, start working our way up the hill. At one point, the spotters go one way, the guide and I go the other way. I have not seen the elk since the bottom of the mountain. I don't know what's going on, but the guide knows what's going on. So we get up to the top of this hill, this mountain, and I know from when I started that they're kind of on the next mountain over. And the guide is kind of looking around the bush, and he looks around the bush and he comes back. He looks around the bush and he comes back. He literally stops. He starts texting his wife. By the way, I was really close with this guy. I was talking smack with his grandfather all week because his grandfather was out deer hunting, and it was really fun. I had a great time with this guy. But he's texting his wife. Oh God. So he finishes texting. He looks around and he looks back at me and he goes, "We got a problem." So what's the problem now? He said, "Well, you've told me you won't take a shot of more than 200 yards." I said, "That's correct." He goes, "Well, this elk is more than 200 yards away, and if we go left of this bush, it's going to see us, and if we go right, it's going to smell us. So your only option is to take the shot right here. Will you take the shot?" I said, "Well, let me line the thing up in the scope, see what it's all about, and I'll tell you whether I'll take it." So the gun is on a brace, and I got on the gun, mounted it, looked it up, found the elk that I wanted, and put it in the middle of the scope, and then I locked the holder in place, and I moved back, and I said, "That's what I'm seeing. Is that what you see?" So he went up and he looked through the scope, and he's like, "Yeah, you're on it, but why did you pick that one?" Because there was another elk that was closer, but this one was in the sun, so I could see it. It was it almost reflects off of their coats. So this is the one that I could see. It also happened to be, although this isn't why I picked it, the bull elk. It was the big elk. So he goes, "Okay, you're good." So he said, "Mount the gun." So I got on the gun, and the way it works is you scope the gun in at 100 yards, and then if you're taking a shot that's longer than that, there's a little spinner on top that you spin to where you are. So if it's a 200 yard, you spin to 200, and the sights adjust to hit at 200 yards. So I was smart enough not to ask him how far it was, and he was smart enough not to tell me how far it was. And I mounted the gun, and he moved. By the way, he had like a golf finder, a range finder, to see how far away the thing was. So he scoped it in, got it in, and then when I got on the gun, he just rotated the thing to whatever it was. So I get on the gun, and at lunch, Tom Ripley had told me how to fire a rifle. I'd really never done it before. And the first question he asked me, and you guys shoot, so you know this, he's like, "What part of your finger are you using to pull the trigger?" I'm like, I've literally been hunting longer than Tom's been alive. I know how to pull a trigger. He goes, no, what part? Well, I use, the little joint right there. He's like, no, 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 no. It's a rifle. You got to use the pad of your finger because it's soft and you won't feel the gun go off. I'm like, never thought about that. He goes, what about your breathing? What do you mean breathing? It's a shotgun. You fire and you hit the thing. He's like, no, 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 no. You have to calm yourself down because you have to stay still. Unlike shotgun where your gun's moving the whole time, you got to be still. So he taught me how to breathe. So I'm on the gun now, start my breathing, put my pad on my finger on the trigger, and squeeze. And sure enough, it's amazing. You don't know the gun's going off because you just don't know. You're into all this other stuff.
And this is with the muzzle, right? This is
a muzzle loader still.
Yep.
So I pull the trigger, and it's far away, so you don't see a reaction from the animal, but it didn't fall over or anything. So I'm sitting there, and my guide had a radio to the spotter, and there was silence for a couple seconds. Then he goes, he hit him, and he hit him in the lungs, which is really good. So it's getting dark, and we were going to wait for it to expire, but instead the guide said, let's take another shot and see what we can do. So go through the same routine, go through the Ripley exercises, pull the trigger. This time you can see it actually jump. And the guide or the spotter says, he hit it. Do it again. He hit it. Do it again. And I shot under it. And by the way, the rest of the herd is now left. It's just this guy. He's clearly hurt. I have a video now from the spotter's perspective. And he's talking, after the first shot, he's going, look, the ears are down and its head is fallen. That means it's dying. So we knew we had a good shot. So finally the thing falls and expires, and I walk over to this thing, which is a couple hundred yards away, and we get up to the animal. First of all, the Indian harvests the spirit out of the animal, which is pretty neat. I mean, he respects the animal, and this is what you do, and you cut it up and take it out of the field. So I get out of the field, drive back to the lodge. When I get to the lodge, everybody's there having a party. It's the last night of the hunt, and the owner of the lodge comes out with Tom. Well, the word has gotten back because I'm texting with Tom and Coleman and John and Steven about what's going on, and these stories have gotten back, but nobody knows what actually happened. So the owner comes out of the lodge, and he goes, how far was this shot of yours? And I said, well, the guide told me it was 450 yards. And he goes, no. He goes, it couldn't be 450 yards. I said, well, don't go by me. I've never done this before. I'm just telling you what the guide told me. But ask the guide when he comes in. So with this, the guides come flying in their truck, and the whole entourage moves over to them to hear the story. And Jared goes, well, yeah, we got on it. It was at 444 yards. He shot it, and then it moved back about 20 yards, and he shot it 2 more times. And the owner goes, you hit it 3 times from 400 plus yards? And again, I didn't know what this meant. Because I've never done it. Like when Tom was preparing us for this, he said, guys, there's a pie plate at the front half of the animal. You got to hit it in the pie plate, or it's, you're not going to kill it. You got to hit the pie plate. This was the lesson that he gave me. Well, when I'm aiming at this thing, I've got this little peephole. I had the entire animal. I wasn't aiming at anything. I was just trying to get my whole animal inside the peephole. So I hit this thing. It's great. Well, the owner says to the guide, where's the gun? And he points to the back of the rig, and there's a gun rack there. He said, it's the top gun. So he goes over and grabs the gun. He said, the gun is set at 470. Why is it at 470 if the elk was at 440? And the guy, without missing a beat, he goes, everybody knows Dan shoots low. So I had this combination of the luck of having this animal walk in front of me, the skill of being coachable enough to listen to Tom and do exactly what he told me, and then the vision of this guide to say, you know what, this guy, we may want to tweak with that a little bit. And it led to a great story and a good shot. So it was something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is. And now you're a Civil War reenactor now.
Yeah. And for all people who are concerned about the elk, if you read the book Comfort Crisis, those bull elks, they're going to meet a bad death if Dan hadn't saved it from its misery. It's tough out there in the wild.
Dan just
What-
keeps giving. Yeah.
You really
yeah.
do. It's Dan the Giver. That's Dan the Giver Baird.
You are a hole-in-one golfer, the greatest hunter that Matt and I know, apparently.
100%.
You're the luckiest man alive. We've already mentioned that. We're going to get a little bit serious here. So you're a CEO, you've been a CFO, you've been a COO, but before any of that stuff happened, you did have a health crisis at a pretty young age. So
I did.
Can you kind of walk us through that whole process? And how old were you, first of all? And how'd you find it?
Hey, Dan, let's talk about the heart, not the crabs.
Yeah.
The heart's better, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was born with aortic stenosis, and which means, Ty, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have a bicuspid instead of a tricuspid valve, so your heart kind of leaks. And all my life, I went to the doctor, and they said, are you short of breath, or you're not sleeping well? And I was like, no. I'm a young, fit guy. I'm good. And I went out for the soccer team at Loyola, ran 2 miles in 12 minutes. That's the only thing they did to make you make the team. I did it, and the next day I had every symptom. And I called the cardiologist. They took me into Hopkins, and I had blown the valve out. So as a freshman in college, I had open heart surgery and had the valve replaced. And that went well, but then the valve failed 15 years later, and I replaced the valve and my aortic root. Is that right? Is that a thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So before anatomy class, I want to get into the psychology. Like, you are, first of all, it happened when you were in high school. Were you sick during high school? And then what is
Never.
that like?
Never.
Okay, so you're going to college when most people, like, I imagine in your mind, you're really more worried about, like, getting the courage up to ask out Leslie Dunning. What is going through your mind when you're like, your heart is broken?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a great question in that the perspective of an 18-year-old having the surgery as opposed to the 38-year-old having the surgery. The 18-year-old, I was drinking beer in my Hopkins room with my Loyola Don buddies the night before the surgery. I had no concerns. I didn't know. I guess I didn't understand completely. I know my parents did, but just didn't get it. And then the difference between that, moving ahead, having to write a will and, prepare my 3 children and Leslie for this thing at 38, it was obviously a different deal.
Real quick, hold on, we got a caller in. Yeah, hi, Dr. Pritchard. You have a question for Dan about drinking beer. Go ahead. We can't get through? Okay, we'll come back to you.
So you weren't drinking beer because you were nervous. You were just like, it's another Wednesday night.
Another
I'm having surgery on
opportunity,
Thursday.
yeah, who knows? Yeah, it was crazy.
But Dan, you still played sports. I mean, you were still a very active guy in high school.
I did.
Yeah, and so I think that's important that people know that you did this, and you still had a typical, normal teenage, adolescent youth, which is amazing.
And to talk about perspective, like, again, from my perspective, no big deal. That college thing, I was going in, I was going to be fine. I didn't have a worry in the world. You're 18-year-old, you're indestructible. The difference at 38. But the difference was my parents, who had an 18-year-old child who was having open heart.
Right.
And Matt, you grew up with my parents, so you know this. My parents are unbelievably Catholic, everyday communicants, just very, very Catholic people. And when I woke up in intensive care after this surgery, Joanna, as Matt calls her, is holding my right hand, and Mr. Baird, as Matt calls him, is holding my left. And they're saying the rosary, and my eyes kind of flutter open, and the doctor, or my mom says, Bill, get the doctor. So my dad runs out of the room, get the doctor. It's Hopkins, so it's a training hospital, so there's all of a sudden 30 guys in white coats in the room. There's alarms going off, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And the doctor gets up, he gets in my face, and he goes, "Are you okay?" Like, yelling at my family. Like, oh my God. I'm like, ah. And he goes, "Nurse, pull the tube." So the nurse comes up, puts her hand on my face, and pulls this tube out of my throat. The doctor gets up in my face again. "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I can't talk. And this Ty, but they're trying to figure out if you've had a stroke, so if you can speak, right? So I still can't talk. And he goes, "Nurse, hydrate this man." So the nurse gets up in my face and goes, "Don't drink the water." I'm like, ah. And she squirts the water in my mouth. I don't swallow it. And then she takes suction and sucks the water out of my mouth. I do one of these. And I looked up at my dad and I said, Dad? He goes, yes. I said, I think I used to date her. My mom drops her rosary beads. The doctor goes, he's good. He's good. So my parents appreciated the gravity of what I was going through a lot more than Dan Baird did. But the second time, again, it was obviously a different time in life and a lot more stressful.
So 15 years later, you have 3 kids
Yes,
at the time. And so Chase was not born yet.
correct.
Okay. You have a wife.
I do.
Your parents are still super Catholic.
They still are.
You are the grandnephew of a cardinal.
I am.
And you're going through the surgery as an adult. Like the night before, I'm assuming you are not out drinking beers with your friends. What is going
I am not.
What is going through your head?
A lot of tears.
Like,
coming.
are you saying some rosaries yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to get into like, did you lean on your faith? Something I can take to the people to be like, hey, be like Dan Baird. I need something more than, hey, drink a bunch of beer the night before your surgery and it'll go well.
Were you like, why did I let Matt Waldron have my ID?
Could really use a pop right now. No, it was obviously a lot more serious. And again, I'm a man of faith, and I called on him. I mean, I don't believe. Like, people ask you what you regret. I don't regret anything in my life, because I know even stuff like that, stuff like not going to the college I wanted to go to, stuff that I thought was so important, everything would have played out differently had these things not happened, including the heart surgery, I think. I think generally people that are sick have more appreciation for what's important. And I think I got some of that, and I can laugh at a lot of stuff. But certainly it's the reality of being a dad and being and a husband and being in that situation is sobering. And yeah, I was saying some Hail Marys. And if you've led the life I have, raising Matt, you'll see a lot of Hail Marys.
Amen, brother. Amen.
And when you woke up this time, did you say anything funny, or you just woke up and said, thank God?
There's another story time, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We could be out of time.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's great. I love that Ty likes these stories, but he doesn't like it if you're in his operating room and you come out of it and you say something about him. He gets very defensive. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. I was much better behaved for my Dr. Klepper surgery that Ty refused to do. Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah. So Dan, I mean, that's crazy, and that's a big life changer, right? At 38, I mean, at 18, but 38 also. Do you still have that perspective? Because now it's been, what are you, 72 now? So it's been a couple of years. I mean, do you still have that perspective?
I think it's always with you. I think, how can it not be?
But is there a little bit like, okay, Tom Ripley's yelling at me to make this shot, but I've been through open heart surgery. I can handle anything. Like,
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I think it's the other way around. I think I've had Tom Ripley yell at me, and now I can handle open heart surgery.
That's very true, Matthew.
and how does it affect your parenting at all? Just like, are you more laid back about like when your kids have a health thing, or when you have a health thing? Are you more laid back because you've been through something so big, or how does that work?
I was. Yeah, I think definitely you're more laid back. I mean, it's like having, how you deal with your last child as compared to your first child.
Is that really fair in your situation?
Well, for my parents, I mean, they raised the 4 of us like hardcore Catholics, and then the younger 4 got the hall pass. They were kind of Protestant, if you will. We may want to take that out.
We may. Side note, speaking of, so Dan is the second oldest of 8?
I'm the third oldest of 8.
Third oldest of 8, excuse me. But so in the intro that we just did, Ty and I were talking about, we went to Eric Smith's induction into the St. Paul's Athletic Hall of Fame. That same evening, they inducted the 1992
football team
that had one Lawrence Baird on it.
That's correct. Yeah. Big night for the Bears. Yeah.
It really was. But
were you there, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I was there for Lawrence. I didn't know Eric was getting it. I was there for Lawrence. But anyhow, so there you are. So, I mean, that's interesting as well. So for the people at home, for our foreign listeners who don't follow the Dan Baird life story, there is Dan had 3 great kids, and then took a little break, and then had Chase. 17 years difference? A little gap there?
Yes, a little gap.
Little gap. And
Yes.
so between the oldest and the youngest, is it 20 plus years? And my question is, what's the gap between the oldest, your sister Joanna's the oldest then, right?
Mary Jo, yeah. Mary Joanna, yeah.
Mary Joanna.
Right.
And then the youngest in your family.
So that difference is 22 of the 8, and my difference is 20. Danny just turned 30, maybe 19. Danny just turned 35, and Chase is 16.
Wow, that's so fun. I mean, it's interesting.
What would be your biggest takeaways of in like almost like kind of those kids were raised in different generations because of multiple reasons. iPhones, raising kids is different. Your situation was different. Like, what are your takeaways on raising kids almost kind of like in two different generations?
I don't know how much of it is their different generations and me having just more comfort as a father. You know, again, you think your first child's going to break everything you do, right? And with Chase, it's I'm just more understanding. Things don't bother me as much. I was very cavalier about saying, "Oh yeah, these life-changing things," and I'm a laid-back dad. Well, with my older kids, I wasn't as laid back as I am now. So I think that's a bigger difference than the generational. We were talking. You saw that horrible accident in Cockeysville yesterday or Friday. Drinking and driving today, they do so much of a better job than we did. And again, I'm not saying that that's what happened in Cockeysville the other day, but that was just a horrible thing that gave us an opportunity to talk about it. And I think that things like that, they're getting smarter than we were. I'd hate to grow up in a social media generation where everything I do, everybody knows. And everything everybody else does. I just don't want that competition. Like, being a teenager is tough work. I think it would be harder with social media, my perspective.
Totally agree.
Except for House Calls the Podcast, when you do something amazing, like make an amazing elk shot in New Mexico.
Except for that.
That needs to be recorded for all of history.
And it is. Now it is. Now we've got it.
Now people will know.
Now
Yes.
everyone will know.
They will know my Ripley shame, and they will know my ending victory.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah. Yep. But I think the whole thing, Dan, the life of Dan Baird, it's all about luck and victory. And you are a winner.
It's Dan Baird, the luckiest man in baseball?
100%.
Dan, what else do you want the audience to know? What do you want all your kids' friends to know? What is your pep talk?
My pep talk. I would say learning from this elk lesson. And by the way, I do teach this to my kids. Be
Learning
coachable.
from what? Be coachable.
Learning from the
Okay.
elk lesson.
Okay.
Be coachable. I had the option, clearly, not to listen to Ripley. And I was smart enough too, right? Be coachable. Listen to people that know more than you do and take the shot. I also had the option of when the guide said, if you're comfortable taking it, take it. There was a lot for me to lose by taking that shot, because if you take it and miss, it's much worse to have missed than to have said, well, it wasn't in range. I just didn't get there. I had to make a decision, and I took the shot, literally. So I think there's something to taking the shot. There's something to listening to people around you that know more than you do. And again, I think we're all really blessed with people that know a lot of stuff. Your podcast is a great example. I listen to these people every week, and I go, wow, I didn't know how interesting these people all were. There's a lot of knowledge running around, and enjoy that.
That's good stuff. I like that. Take the shot, Dan Baird. And you did, and we're glad you did, and you lived to tell. Good stuff. Good stuff, Mr. Baird.
All right, Dan, that was fun.
That was great.
Thank you both. It was fun.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it. Right.